What's one thing you regret the most?
I don't know. One thing I regret the most,
Yes.
the lack of understanding of black people.
But yeah, the economy is shit. America is shit right now.
Is America a systemically racist country? 100% yes. And I never understand when the right balks at this. We tell you that the government is corrupt, that it is evil. Why do we try to push back when people say it's racist?
Acknowledging systemic racism is the first step towards creating a better world. But we cannot hope to dismantle something that we refuse to recognize. By acknowledging its existence, we validate the experiences of those who have been marginalized and oppressed for far too long. But acknowledgement is just the beginning.
All right, good people. So every day I strive to bring you more educative content, thought-provoking content that enables us to think more about ourselves, to dive deep into these issues, these real issues that affect our people and affect our society at large. And I came across a couple of clips or videos that were depicting white people asking for forgiveness from black folks, and I was asking myself, why is it that these white folks are coming out now to ask for forgiveness after this segregation, after this colonialism, after this slavery, after this oppression of over 500 years, 500 years of oppression? And why do they see the need for unity right now? Why did they ask for unity back then? All right, so blacks have been fighting for themselves for over 500 years now. We are the ones who have always been in the streets protesting for our lives. We're the ones who have always been arrested. We get jailed. We're the ones who when we drive, we get pulled over by these federal officers. So today I'd like us to talk about the institutionalized or systemic racism. So in these videos, as I've told you earlier, that there are a couple of videos or clips that I would like us to watch, and then I'll be back with further commentary on the topic of institutionalized racism or systemic racism. I'll come to discuss more about it or give my take or my sentiments on it. But before that, kindly, if this is your first time watching this channel, then kindly make sure that you subscribe, turn on post notifications, like this video so that it can be suggested to as many people as possible. Share this message to your brother and sister so that we can all get enlightened, because this is Awaken Africa, and I look forward to see more people getting awakened and getting the necessary knowledge that they deserve. Right about now, let us jump straight into the video, and then I will be back with my commentary.
Consider tripping on the election of Donald Trump, who act like somehow this is a deviation from America's norm, that this is somehow some unique, horrible break with the history of the country. No. The glitch was the 8 years of the Obama administration. This is back to your regularly scheduled programming. The history of politicians scapegoating black and brown folks, blaming them for problems that they didn't create, and then getting votes on the basis of that, that's not new. Donald Trump didn't create that, didn't invent that. That's been going on for 400 years, back to the colonial period, before we even were a country. So the first lesson is, don't assume that what's happened all of a sudden is a new thing. Don't be shocked by it. This is normal for America. Welcome to your country. The whole history of America is the history of rich white men telling not rich white people that their enemies are black and brown. It starts in the colonies of what would become the United States. Rich folks looked around, the ones that owned all the land, you know, in the colonies, the colonial elite looked around, and they realized something, that they were heavily outnumbered by African enslaved folks, by European indentured servants, who were just one level above a slave, or other Europeans who weren't technically indentured servants, but they were still peasants, didn't have any money, didn't have any land, and they could do the math. They added it up, and they were like, damn, we got to figure out a way to split these folks apart from one another, or they're going to rise up and take our stuff.
Systemic racism. It's a term that we often hear, but what does it truly mean? Systemic racism refers to the deeply ingrained structures within our institutions and culture that perpetuate racial inequalities. It's not just about individual acts of prejudice, it's about the systemic disadvantages faced by people of color in education, employment, healthcare, and beyond. Acknowledging systemic racism is the first step towards creating a better world, but we cannot hope to dismantle something that we refuse to recognize. By acknowledging its existence, we validate the experiences of those who have been marginalized and oppressed for far too long. But acknowledgement is just the beginning. We must also commit to taking real action. This means actively challenging and changing the systems and structures that uphold racial inequality. It means listening to and amplifying the voices of those who have been silenced for far too long. It means investing in education, healthcare, and economic opportunities for communities of color. It means holding ourselves and our institutions accountable for our actions and inactions. Bringing about a better world requires uncomfortable conversations and difficult decisions. It requires us to confront our own biases and privileges. It requires us to stand in solidarity with those who are fighting for justice and equality. But it's worth it, because when we acknowledge and address systemic racism, we not only create a more just and equitable society for people of color, but we also create a better world for all of us. A world where everyone has the opportunity to thrive regardless of the color of their skin. So let's commit ourselves to the work. Let's acknowledge the reality of systemic racism and let's work together to dismantle it. Because only then can we create a world where everyone is treated with dignity, respect, and fairness.
What does systemic racism look like? Well, in 2018, the Economic Policy Institute released a report 50 years to the day after the Kerner Report of 1968, which reported on the incredible wake of violence that erupted in the United States in the summer of '67. And the Policy Institute reported that there was zero progress in closing the gap between white and black America when it came to education, incarceration, and employment. Now, studies show that black newborns are 3 times as likely to die if they are cared for by white doctors. Statistics and evidence continue to show the racism in every stage of the criminal legal system. And poverty and homelessness reflect discrimination against black people and other people of color. And even when you do make it, that racism is there waiting for you. We just got reports of a black woman buying a home where the seller tried to back out after finding out the purchaser was black. Stories from across the country have indicated that in order to avoid lower valuations of their homes, black people are required to eliminate signs of blackness before any evaluation of the home is conducted. And just last week, it was announced that Merrill Lynch agreed to pay $20 million to settle a class action lawsuit against them, accusing them of race discrimination against some of those blacks who had made it. Financial advisors. Allegations were that the black advisors were paid less, promoted less, and terminated at higher rates than their white colleagues. And there were specific allegations that this was based on company-wide policy and practice. Now, Merrill agreed to what was referred to as a programmatic relief program, which includes a review of the company's current and past diversity initiatives, as well as an analysis of their diversity metrics and pay equity. Now, of course, Merrill didn't admit any wrongdoing under this settlement. They claimed that the agreement was reached to resolve the matter so they could focus on the initiatives to assist black financial advisors and their clients. And in evaluating their claimed reason for the settlement, it's probably worth knowing that in August of 2013, Merrill also agreed to another settlement involving allegations of race discrimination, and that one was settled for $160 million. If you're looking for systemic racism and you can't find it, it may be the problem of not seeing the forest because of the trees.
We know he's God and he no longer can be here. God, we're not shaming anybody, God. We're just humbling ourselves before you. Yes, Lord. You brought the thunder and rain today, God, because Satan takes the L today. Father, in Jesus' name, you get the victory. Father, we ask for forgiveness from our black brothers and sisters for years and years of racism, of systematic racism.
Goes in when we standing on business. I'm a big stepper, underground methods, top-notch hoes.
Did you know that FAFO is the same as when you let kids touch the stove? Because you can only tell them so many times, don't do it, it's hot, don't touch it, it's hot, don't touch it, until they actually touch it, and then they don't touch it again. That's pretty much what FAFO is. We're treating them like toddlers.
As an Afro-Latino, myself, we have to hold accountability for our actions.
That it's our own people turning against us. I am truly disgusted.
And let's be very serious. Latinos voted for Trump because they want to be as close to whiteness as possible. It's because they're anti-black.
And now you're begging the black community to come help us, to come save us. No! I think it's time we learn to save ourselves. And let the black community rest. Because my God, have they not done enough fucking work. So, yeah. Where were we during the George Floyd protests? Or the Breonna Taylor, Sandra Bland? When their community was getting killed, where the fuck were we? Because I do not remember seeing any Latin people out there. Now, maybe there was one or two of y'all. I don't remember seeing any Mexicans out there.
So, we're gonna lay off a whole bunch of people again. And I already was struggling so hard, actually low-key, to even keep the current roof over my head. And now, I have no idea how I'm even going to get through the next few hours. I just don't understand. But yeah, the economy is shit. America is shit right now. I feel like there's a really big plan for them to, tank this so that we have to rely on other things, other people. It's fucking shit.
Do you want to know how bad healthcare is in America? Here's how bad it is. I get stitches, cut my finger the other day. Go into the hospital, get my stitches done. No big deal, whatever. I have to wait 2 weeks to get them taken out. In the meantime, I get billed for my visits. Before insurance, for 5 stitches, $3,800. After insurance, $1,800. Or $1,900, excuse me. After insurance, $1,900 for 5 stitches for a terrible hospital visit. Anyway, fast forward, so I get my bill and it's time to take the stitches out, so I schedule an appointment at the urgent care that is associated with the hospital that I went to, same company. So I schedule suture removal appointment online, and then I go in for the appointment and they say, sorry, we're not going to take those out. Since you got them done at the hospital, you have to get them removed at the hospital. I said, why didn't you tell me that when I scheduled the appointment online? They said, sorry, go to the hospital. So I go to the hospital. And then I wait around for a while in the ER, and then I get back and I ask the nurse, hey, this is what happened. They turned me away at urgent care, told me to come here, that you guys would do for free. Is that true? And the nurse said, let me check on that. I'm going to check with billing really fast. So they go check on billing. And then they say, sorry, billing says that you'll have to pay to get these stitches removed. And I said, that really sucks because I paid $1,800 to have that done after insurance. And they said, that is absolutely ridiculous. And I said, I know. And then I said, gonna be honest, I'm not gonna pay any more money to the hospital because I already paid too much anyway. So I'm just gonna go. And I said, I think I might just remove them myself. And they said, that makes sense because that was so much money. So we'll just take you off triage. It'll be like you're never here. Don't worry about it. And then they were like, you know what? Don't tell anybody we gave you this. And they gave me a little kit to remove my stitches myself. So that's a little story about healthcare in America. $1,800 will get you 5 stitches, and then nurses have to go behind the backs of the hospital to get you treated. So that's pretty stupid.
America's system is a system of racism. That is the foundation of that country. And I think like growing up, I always thought and we're told, you know, this American dream, even us as Americans, it's an American dream. And if you work hard and get your education and do the right thing, you can get ahead. And then black people, black Americans, they tell us the same thing. Oh, black people, slavery's over. Racism is over. Just get your education. You can get a job. You can make money. You can have a nice life. But then, and you know, you believe it. You believe it because, yeah, I'm buying into it. But then you realize when you get to a certain point, you know, I'm climbing and climbing and climbing, and there's only so far they're going to allow you to go. And on that top 1%, 0.5%, because I definitely made it to the 1 to 3% of Americans for sure. But the top 0.5%, we're talking about the billionaires. I'm not a billionaire. I'm talking about the people that run the country. I don't run the country. They only a fraction. They're only going to let a few people with some brown skin in there.
Is America a systemically racist country? 100% yes. And I never understand when the right balks at this. We tell you that the government is corrupt, that it is evil. Why do we try to push back when people say it's racist? We had institutionalized slavery in this country, followed by Jim Crow, that entrenched laws upon laws upon laws. Does that mean everybody working in our government is currently racist? No. Does that mean we still have laws on the books that were put there with racist intent or that have racially disproportionate outcomes? 100% yes. Look at the public school system, where we had redlining that determined where people lived based on their zip codes and their skin color for decades. And that now determines how much money goes to their public schools. And this is why you see black kids trapped in cycles of poverty in our government schools for decades and decades and decades. That's why we need school choice. These arguments support our policies that we're pushing for because we actually want to see all communities lifted up. Look at the criminal justice system. You have 95 million traffic stops that were looked at between 2011 and 2018 across 56 different police agencies. And they found that black people were more than 2 times likely to be pulled over. That disparity lessened at night when cops couldn't see them. They were more likely to be searched than white people, more likely to be caught with drugs, even though white people do drugs at similar levels. Black men are 2.5 times more likely to be killed by police. They're 3.5 times more likely to be arrested for pot, despite both races using those drugs at similar rates. They get 20% longer sentences for the same crimes. When we look at this is a 2017 U.S. Sentencing Commission. When it comes to gun crimes, gun laws were put into place to explicitly block black people from being able to access their rights to self-defense in this country, and boy, do they still work to this day. Black people are far more likely to be charged with gun crimes. They are more likely to be arrested and sentenced for longer time periods when they are caught. As a whole, there are still so many areas across this country where we are continuing to see the government harm people of color at disproportionate rates. And what that should tell you is that we need to limit this freaking government and get it out of people's ways and giving it the power to do this to people. That's the end game.
So if someone asks you what is institutionalized racism or institutional racism, which is also best known as systemic racism, it is a form of institutional discrimination based on race or ethnic group and can include policies and practices that exist throughout a whole society or organization that result in and support a continued unfair advantage to some people and unfair or harmful treatment of others. It manifests as discrimination in areas such as criminal justice, employment, housing, healthcare, education, and political representation. So that is what we call systemic or institutional racism. It is something that it has been embedded in the system. It is something that for people, it is experienced, not that racism like someone insults you because you're a black person, you're a brown person. No, it is already in the system. Like you are disadvantaged. When, let's say for instance, when you go to a hospital as a black person, you're already disadvantaged because the services that a white person is going to receive are not the same services that you're going to receive. The education that a white kid is going to receive is not the same education that a black kid is going to receive. So institutionalized racism or systemic racism was brought about by rich white people who are telling other white people, of course the poor white people in the middle class, during the days of slavery, that their problem was black people and brown people. So it became it manifested itself in a way that, okay, you know what guys, this is it, right? These people are the cause of your problems. So if it were not for these black people, then you could have been better. If it were not for these Latino people, these brown people, you could have been better. But what are they trying to do? So when they gaslight these poor white people or middle-class white people, that's when you find that, oh, I am a teacher, so this kid is black, right? I'm a white teacher and this kid is black, and this kid, this kid is not supposed to get the same education as my kid, So it is a systemic way of oppressing people. And the phenomenon above has brought about what I have said is systemic racism. People of color are disadvantaged in all sectors. I mean all sectors, man, all sectors. And when I say all, I mean all. So putting an end to systemic racism, because of course we cannot live with systemic racism in our society. So what are the steps that we must take to make sure that we put an end to this systemic racism, right? Number one, those people who brought up this system, those people who set up these systems, they need to acknowledge its effects on the people of color. You need to acknowledge first, you need to accept and acknowledge that this systemic racism has effects on black or brown people. Number two, they need to commit to taking necessary steps to put it to an end. They need to commit. You need to commit. After acknowledging, then you come to the step of commitment that you're going to put it to an end. Breaking all the structures that enable it. If it is the state itself, the state, the United States of America, government is built on a racist system. So if it is breaking free from the structures that enable this systemic racism, then let people break them. Let the people break away from them. Number four, giving chances to the marginalized people of color. Marginalized people of color have never been given chances. It is not easy for someone to become a black doctor in the United States. It is not easy for someone to become a pilot in the United States. If you're a black person, like, okay, you can become a doctor, you can become a pilot, but the chances for you to become, let's say, okay, let us put two people. We have a white person, a black person. So the chance of white person to become a doctor are so easy, or it is so fast for a white person to become a doctor compared to a black person. So giving chances to marginalized people of color to achieve their full potential. And then giving voices to those championing for change. There are so many people, so many creators championing for change. People want to see a better society. People want to see a new society whereby everyone thrives in and can grow. So these people who are advocating for this and championing for these changes, let us make sure that we give them voices, we support them. Number six, if I'm not wrong, that is number six. Whites to hold themselves and the institutions accountable. White people should hold themselves accountable, not by just kneeling down asking for forgiveness as you've seen from those videos. No, they need to sit down and hold themselves accountable, and the institutions that they have made them. As a modern society that cares, we should be ready to break free from these oppressive systems to make sure that all of us enjoy an equitable share of the resources and people of color get to live in a just world, because justice has never been served to the people of color, especially my black brothers and sisters. They don't get justice. They have never gotten justice. That's it. With that done, everyone will be treated with dignity, love, justice, and fairness, and then we're going to have a good world. And come to think of it, black folks and other people of color have not had it easy in the new world. The new world is the United States, of course. They never had it easy. So talk about health, education, justice, or business. The discrimination they faced, just only God knows. You've heard from the videos, like a woman was going to buy or was going to purchase a home, and then when the seller knew that the purchaser is a black woman, he refused. They cannot say to her because she's a black woman. We've all seen how they are apologizing, whether genuine or not, it's up to them. But before I leave, my people, my fellow black people, are you ready to forgive these people who are coming out and asking for forgiveness? That is a question that I have posed to you, and I don't think if you, I don't know what your take is according to these people who are talking about forgiveness and white people yearning for change. They want to see a better community. I like us to have the conversation going on in the comments, so I'll ask you to leave a comment, right? And then after that, make sure that you like this video so that it can be suggested to as many people as possible. After that, click that share button. Make sure that everyone gets this message and gets enlightened, because this is Awakened Africa, and I'd like each and every one of us to get enlightened and awakened. And then last but not least, make sure that you turn on post notifications so that every time I post a new video, you'll be the first person to get notified about it, because I post videos each and every day. Subscribe, because I like us to become a family and a community. It has been my pleasure to be your presenter for today. My name is Bemu, B-E-M-U, from the continental Africa, the land of Simba, Kenya. Peace out.